time either.
Well,
Because I know how much.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? Thanks for coming today. So we have a couple of speakers today, but I'm going to announce our main guest speaker, who is going to announce the other participants. So today's discussion is avoiding litigation through property condition disclosure. And you may have met Robert before, but Robert is a licensed general contractor and he's personally inspected thousands of residential properties. He now works as a litigation consultant, a contributing author to Realtor Magazine, and a speaker on effective disclosure techniques. His discussion will touch upon the development of a virtually litigation-proof transaction. Doesn't that sound ideal? Dealing with litigation-prone clients and applying risk management principles to every transaction. So let's welcome Robert Brand. Come on up, Robert.
thank you. And I just got out of my 10-year prison sentence, so I'm finally free again. Anyway, glad to be here. I've been here a few times. I'm not sure if anybody remembers me from previous years, but I always have new information. My sole topic is how to avoid litigation when it comes to disclosing the physical condition of the property. So, you know, there's things that we can write down and say, but mainly write down that could be improved to kind of move it from something that we could get sued about to where they really can't sue us. So that's my sole topic now for 33 years in a row. So I do not personally sell anything. I don't charge real estate firms anything other than donuts that they give me left over. But so I'm very graciously sponsored by service providers, and I'll have Brent up first because I know he's in the field today running around. So Brent is with Elite Home Inspections. They are the largest home inspection company in the entire world. They have somewhere, give or take, it's hard to even say out loud, about 90 full-time home inspectors. So there's no company like them, but with that, take it away.
Well, that was my pitch. Thank you guys very much. No, I'm kidding. Brent Gardner, Elite Group Inspection Professionals is the company. Yes, we have actually 92 inspectors all over Southern California. We deal from Santa Barbara all the way to the Mexican border. If there's a house, commercial property, whatever, mold or indoor air quality tests, termite, whatever you need, we can do it. About the only thing we don't test is asbestos and lead. But if you need a property inspection anywhere in Southern California, even the remote spots, Needles, Barstow, Rosamond, we go everywhere. So mainly because we've got somebody who lives within 10 to 15 miles of these places. Again, we do all kinds of other services. But the most important thing that sets us apart from everybody else is the way we communicate to people. You guys are salespeople, so am I. We have a certain exposure to salespeople and people in general during the day. Inspectors do not. They don't have the training and the practice and the exposure that we have to be able to speak with people really, really well and effectively communicate a finding. We actually we stole your guys' ideas. We workshop, we mastermind, we role play with our guys so that they have that exposure, so they have that practice, they have that experience and can take the findings in the report and make it make sense to the buyer. And that's really the most important thing, because when your buyer walks away from an inspection with questions or concerns and they're not remedied on site, they're less confident to move forward in the transaction, right? We want to make sure we give them that confidence to move forward, that comfort, that knowledge. And that's really what sets us apart. It's not the product, it's not the report. Everybody can do the report. It's everything that happens around it before, during, and after. So Elite Group is the inspection company. You guys have your next transaction. If you have never tried us, please give us a call. I'll leave some cards at the front desk for you guys. Thank you so much.
Oh, before you go.
Yes.
So mold is always an issue that comes up.
Yeah.
So if you send an inspector out, are they looking for mold? Or
So-
do we have to request an inspection?
Mike and I were just talking about this very briefly. So there's two types of mold inspections. If you see something that's visible that could be mold, we're going to call that a mold analysis inspection. And yes, we're going to check every baseboard in the house for moisture. We're going to look under every sink, every counter, everything for as much moisture as we can find. We want to find the sources so we know where to swab also. If you're not sure, but maybe there's a musty odor, maybe there's no odor, maybe you just have a general concern, might there be mold somewhere in the house that I can't see, right? Indoor air quality test. And that will measure mold spores in the air. And believe me, it's a very sensitive test. If there's mold behind tile, behind a wall, in the ventilation system, it will pick it up. And not only pick it up, so you'll get a yes or an elevated levels, but you'll also find out what kind of mold it is, which then a remediation company can take that information and go, okay, now we know what to do with this. Because some treatments are more extreme than others.
So then the traditional inspection is not going to be
addressing that, but if the inspector comes across something, they
Yes.
may include that in their report.
Yes. So for example, if we find excessive moisture, even under a sink, let's say you've got an air gap that's not sealed properly and leaking under the sink. If we find excessive moisture, we might recommend an air quality test on site, and all of our home inspectors have the equipment to do so on site. You can add it if you wanted to right then and there. You don't have to, but you can. They also have sewer scopes. They have almost everything to do the job wholly for you while they're there. So if it is a concern and you have a question, or if your buyer's like, let's really do this, then we can totally do it. Super easy.
Okay, all right,
That answer your question?
I think so.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I'll leave the floor to Bob and the rest of the. Thank you.
Good job. Good job. Thank you. Okay. Now, Rosie's not here yet, right? Not, okay, so Rosie with First American Home Warranty, and she and Candy provided the very nice refreshments back there. So she's part of this. I think everybody knows her. Now, Candy, your phone number's off, but it wasn't me. It's something to do with the technology, but that's the right phone number for you, right?
306-447.
Yeah, it just moved out a little bit, but say, go right ahead.
Hey, can you take my compliance?
Okay, well, okay, compliance, so I can stay out of prison, right?
Exactly, yeah. Good morning, everybody. It's so nice to see you all again. I actually at First American NHD, I am coming up on 20 years doing NHDs for First American. So I can guarantee there's absolutely nobody out there who knows as much about the NHDs than I do. And I'm sorry I've been kind of MIA for the past year. Life kind of threw me a curveball, but all over now, and I am back in the saddle. So if there's anything that I can do to answer any of your questions, and I know a lot of people have so many questions, especially like on the Fortress wildfire report, which is fire has actually been a nightmare for me for the past couple of years. But I have educated myself as much as I can on it. I've actually gone out with a couple of fire departments to do defensible space inspections. I got to do ride-alongs with them. And yeah, so I'm pretty knowledgeable on all of that stuff. But if there's ever any questions that you need answered, here's the phone number. And no matter how silly you think the question is, please call me. I'm more than happy to help you out however I can. So thank you so much for the
Oh,
opportunity.
don't go away yet. Okay.
Okay.
So you mentioned that you've attended inspections with the fire department.
Yes, I
Now,
have.
Depending upon how our disclosure is completed, if the burden on having the inspection subsequent to the close of escrow could be could be the buyer's burden. Or maybe in a transaction, the burden could be placed on the seller.
Mhm.
Any idea, could you give us some insight in just regards to how we schedule those inspections with the fire department?
Oh, super easy. And we're very lucky here. The ones in my territory are the Orange County Fire Authority, and they are awesome. They do not charge for the defensible space inspections. Okay, and then I have the Laguna Beach and the Newport Beach Fire Department, and they do have fees for theirs. I've been out with Orange County Fire Department a couple of times, and I've been out with the Newport Beach Fire Department. Ramey Wan there is their fire inspector, and he is, boy, you talk about thorough. But I'll just tell you, I can't tell you what to do, but here's what one of my favorite customers does. Before she even goes on a listing appointment, she orders the NHD report. She does a lot of sales in Laguna Niguel, and there's a lot of very high fire severity zones in Laguna Niguel. Okay, so what she does is she will order the NHD report. She takes it with her, okay, to explain to the buyers if it does come back in the high or very high requiring the AB 38 inspection. She explains that to them so they understand it. She asks their permission to have the fire department come out and do the inspection. She gets this compliance certificate, and then anytime she does an open house, she's got that compliance certificate right there with her. So everything is done up front. And the only reason I'm saying something like that is it just saves you a lot of time and saves stress and headaches. Because I got a call from one of my agents who has a property up in Los Angeles, and they wanted to close in 10 days. Okay, it's in very high fire severity zone. The Los Angeles Fire Department is so behind. They're 2 to 3 weeks behind. So there's no way they can even get an inspection done. So that one is going to have to be put off on the buyer. Okay, and buyer just needs to understand if it is put off on the buyer, they have 12 months from the close of escrow to make sure a defensible space inspection is done. And like I said, it's just so much easier, especially here in Orange County, because we have the Orange County Fire Department, Fire Authority, who is like so on time. It's usually 24 to 48 hours by the time they come out, unless they could. During the fires, they were a couple of days longer, but that's because they were kind of shorthanded. But it's just so much easier, just like ordering your NHD report. And some people wait till they go into escrow and then the report comes back and then there's all kinds of questions. If you just order it up front, it doesn't have to be paid for until the close of escrow, but if you get it early enough, there's no surprises. You have all the information that you need there. And the Fortress Wildfire Report, also keep in mind, because I get a lot of calls on this, that is not required by law, number one. Number two, I had an agent call me and tell me she doesn't have to do the defensible space inspection because she has the Fortress Wildfire Report. That is so wrong. Okay, the way the law is written, the AB 38 inspection has to be done in person by a local fire authority. So Fortress doesn't come out and inspect your property. It's all done via their satellite and their proprietary software. So that does not, if you have that, that's fine, but you still have to have the AB 38 inspection. So does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, I want you to all promise me now that if you do, you'll call me. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you.
Make sure you get the right phone.
Okay.
Okay. And Rodi is here. Yeah. Right. So let me get the graphic here right. And let's see. There you are.
Okay, that's me with dark hair. I'm going gray. So with that, Rosie Poole, First American Home Warranty. Please, you guys, up your game on home warranty. Repairs are super, super expensive, especially air conditioning. Air conditioning is ridiculous. The mandate has changed in 2025 and new regulations in order to comply with California permits, codes, and modifications really puts a burden on your homeowners. So I had one with a client and they were like, what do you mean we have to pay $4,600 in non-covered costs? I said, you know what? I'm not here to tell you what the best deal is. What I'm here to tell you is go get another bid, an outside bid, and you let me know what you would like to do. So what she did, and it came back on retail to be $14,000 instead of $4,000. So she had a $10,000 savings. So home warranty only covers the failed equipment and the labor. The homeowner pays for the California requirements, permits, codes, and modifications. All right, this call, just like Candy, is like I'm a reoccurring record. With that, don't forget seller's coverage. As properties are sitting on the market, seller's coverage works just like your buyer's, but it does not include roof, pool, washer, dryer, fridge. Okay, it does not. But for $1.63, when you get that list of repairs, if plumbing, electrical, maybe your dishwasher isn't working, you can call all of those in and take advantage of the home warranty. Last but not least, today at 3:30, I have the city of Irvine coming to Oliver's. Do you guys all know where Oliver's is in Quail Hill? Right? Okay, you guys can just reach out to me. They will be talking about sign regulations and real estate requirements for the city of Irvine. So if you would like to join us, please get there early because we expect a packed house. All right, and please be kind to them. They won't come back and help me again if you guys aren't kind. All right, any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Rosie. Thank you. Now the fun begins.
Have fun begins. Okay. So anyway, a little bit about myself. Let's take about an hour. No, not done. I don't have enough to fill. But I did my 33rd year doing this. So I can usually answer any question about disclosure. If you have them anytime at all during the year, whenever, you can always call me. But probably better to email me that I could copy in, Rich and all that, and knows what I'm talking about. Anything regarding disclosure, there's no attorney. I'm over his way. But I've been doing PowerPoint forever, and for some reason, some of the graphics just look different on this, but I think we'll still get the job done. But anyway, let me see what time it is here. This is a while ago. Okay, stating the obvious. Let me back up. So, have let's say either side of the deal, let's say it's the buyer and they're looking at the home to the right here. Well, it's really obvious there's a school across the street. So no matter, the first thing is no matter how obvious something is, we still need to make a disclosure because a defense for a buyer is we were so excited about the property and kind of in our own little world, and we didn't even notice that, there was a high school or something next to it. So we just have to, but the disclosure that we make has to be done very carefully. Fortunately, and I'll get into that. Fortunately, it's easy to do and it's shorter than you would normally think. So anyway, anybody that buys this house, they're going to have I don't know what they do with class change bells or whistles or whatever, but gridlock in the morning for pickup and that can be really something and drop off. You can't get out of your driveway. Kids probably hanging on the fence and just all that stuff. So we have to make a disclosure that covers everything. The problem is you'll never make a list that covers everything. So there's an easier way to do it. I'll get to in a minute. Just a couple other pictures. I don't know where I was, maybe La Cienega and I-10 or somewhere around there. So it's kind of hard to have a house closer to a freeway than this one. But anybody who lives here, first of all, we never want to say, okay, my client wants a house. You can't miss this major freeway here. Their defense is, again, we were so excited about the transaction, we blocked everything out. So we still have to make a disclosure. We just have to make the correct one. So their complaints probably be, a rush hour gridlock and all that, a lot of exhaust. You say there's gasoline exhaust and you haven't mentioned diesel exhaust, and maybe that's what they're allergic to. So we have to have a disclosure that covers everything, which I'll get to in a minute, and noise and all that. One more picture. This is, I live in Carlsbad, and this is a shopping center in that area. It's got 5 buildings. There's a Target on the far left and a big supermarket on the far right, and it's very good place. So you have these nice sort of custom view homes up there, and everybody buying that home, any one of those homes, knows there's a shopping center right beneath them, and there's going to be some noise and so forth. But the problems have come from what's happening around Target at the far left, because they have deliveries 24 hours a day. So you have the big 18-wheelers backing up, beep, 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 and the guys yelling at each other on the forklifts. And so some of the residents that are right above that say, we knew there was a shopping center, but we didn't know it was 24 hours a day, because we know that like Target closes at 8 or 9. We didn't know they had deliveries all the time. So anyway, we have to have a disclosure that takes care of that. So first of all, no matter how obvious something is, and you think it might be an insult to their intelligence to mention it, it's better to mention it. And when we're disclosing something near the property, disclose what is there. Never details of what may bother the buyers about what's there, because every buyer is going to be different. I'll give you some examples here. So, for example, there's a freeway near the house. That's it, period. Anything and everything that could affect you because of your proximity to a freeway is in that disclosure. If you make a list of gasoline fumes, you got to get diesel fumes, maybe there's some other fuel, and the list will go on forever. So telling them what is there is a better way to go, I will suggest. A school is close to this property. Gridlock in the morning and afternoon, kids hanging out on the fence, band practice, cheerleader practice is all because, as disclosed, there's a school near your house, and close or near is better than like how many feet. So better not to make a list of specifics. And for the shopping center, maybe something like a shopping center is located behind this property. I know that seems overly simplistic, but since I look at lots and lots and lots of avids and transfer disclosure statements and all that, I just see a preponderance of disclosures that are just not worded correctly. So anything that anybody could complain about, even when people, not as much of a deal as it used to be, when they're leaving their cars and they want to lock the doors, and the doors lock and they're the horn honks or something. And then a resident out there says, we just hear horns honking all day long. That's because there's a shopping center behind the property, or you're behind the shopping center. So it's better to make a generalized disclosure that has some technical feature to it, but not too technical. And by the way, I will email to Rich some seminar notes that I put out every year, and I actually have to update them several times a year. And So a lot of this will be there, not all of it. What do you do when you're doing your visual inspection, either side of the deal, and you can't find anything to disclose? And it almost looks like you never showed up because, there's just nothing there. Never be afraid to break a window. No, I'm kidding. So here's a way to come up with something that won't blow the deal, won't freak anybody out. So here, I have to change this when I'm doing something up in Northern California, but stucco is kind of the primary, exterior of the home. Brick, chimney or brick accents, and then concrete or cement, the driveway, the backyard patio or whatever. It is, I won't say almost impossible, it is impossible to find these surfaces that are, excuse me, wrong mic, that are crack-free. So let's go with this. For some cracks noted at exteriors, wherever you saw them. The word some is better than a number, because if you have a finicky buyer saying, you said there were 6 cracks and there's 8 or something like that, some takes care of that. We don't want to say they're settling cracks. I look at lots of avids and I see settling cracks noted in backyard patio, or on the driveway, but they just had a delivery of concrete and it broke all these details, and we don't want that. So some is a really, really good word to use if it has to do with cracks or settling or anything, or not. We don't know if it's settling. Cracks in the patio, never say there are 4 or 5, because maybe the buyer's more particular and they saw 5 or 6 or something like that. So if you're wondering where to write it down, well, there's lots of things on the form, but if you haven't got to it yet, or it's all filled up, don't forget there is this option at the very end: other observed or known conditions not specified above. So that's an ideal disclosure for a home that has these building components. Okay, to go from a rough draft disclosure to a final disclosure, doesn't cost anything to use this technique. No app or anything. Takes like a half a minute. So let's say I'm in the kitchen, either side of the deal, but I'm in the kitchen doing my avid inspection, which is not a home inspection. It's not at that level. And we've all heard in kitchens these horror stories where somebody moves in and there are water problems in the walls and stuff, and the new owners have to move out to a hotel for like 2 months, and we don't want that, of course. So I want to let's say to the left of the refrigerator and the wall, I see a couple of spots like this. Now, if you and I were talking, kind of off the record, I'd say, well, I'm not a mold expert, but it kind of looks like it's mold and probably a little bit worse, under there. But using the word fungus or mold or anything in that category is outside of our standard of care. So let's go through it. So I keep getting messed up on. Okay, so we'll start with a overly long disclosure. Although it is probably true, 2 small black mold stains noted. And since I look at tons of avids, this is the most common one. So we got to get rid of 2. See the top one there. You can see it almost like there's a little tiny one on the upper left, and some buyers are really picky. So get rid of a number. There's no reason to have it. Don't use adjectives like small. We never use colors. There's no way on earth we ever want to write down the word mold. So we really just have stains noted. So notice when we're doing it the right way, we're not adding words and how many more words can I add and making it more difficult. We're making it simpler. It's briefer, because nobody can challenge that there are stains. We don't want to say fungus or mold, because that's outside of our standard of care, and that would be challenged. So rough draft to final, just take it, the disclosure, write it out if you want, or on your laptop or whatever, and just eliminate, while still making the disclosure, every word you can, such that it still grammatically makes sense. Good way to go, and this will be in the notes you'll get. Okay, avoid completing the avid during the home inspection. This is when let's say you have the buyers, and maybe they're out of town or they're going to be in town for the home inspection. And they want to be there. They want to follow the home inspector around, get to know them, and really get a good look at the house. So it's very convenient for you to do your avid then. it's probably the worst time in a transaction to do it. Because if you're around the home inspector, I'll give you an example here in a second. He's looking at things that you don't have to look at, like a painting or something on a wall. They'll probably take it off and look behind it. We don't do that. So if there are cracks, that's my example, you have no disclosure because you don't see them. It's got kind of a protection for you. So anyway, a few things about the Abbott. So home inspector's doing his thing, and maybe your client, the prospective buyers, are there too. And this is, say, the master bedroom. Well, if it was just me there, from this picture, I wouldn't have anything to disclose. Everything, the floor looks okay and the wall and all that. I would have no disclosure. But the home inspector, because they have a different standard of care, it's a more like invasive than ours is. They usually take a painting or a photo or a picture down off the wall, and let's say he does, and that's what's behind it. Well, if I'm on either side of the deal as the agent, I'm now seeing something that I would not have seen within my standard of care. And I'm doing my job within my standard of care, but I don't move things, so I would have no disclosure here. But since if I following everybody around, I'm gonna see it, and that just totally changes my like liability posture. So if it was just me, and I know that can't always be done, but it's good to make an effort. From what I see there, I would have nothing to disclose, and I don't move things around as a real estate licensee, so it still has to be dealt with, but I'm not in the middle of the fight because it's outside of my standard of care to have even seen it. So kind of sum this part up. Always complete the Avid, if at all possible, prior to the home inspection, never during, if you can help it. And the worst thing we can do is be filling out our Avid while we're following the home inspector around, because we're gonna see things, have an obligation to disclose things that we would have no reason to disclose, and absolutely no liability. It may still need to be addressed when it's discovered or whatever by the buyers when they move in or whenever, but it just completely changes in a favorable way to our liability when we did it on our own and stayed within our standard of care. And then if there are pending repairs coming up, sometimes we're told, it's a little bit different with the market now than it used to be, but could you hold off on doing your agent's limited visual inspection till the repairs are done? It's better just to do it at your soonest opportunity, and it just lowers your liability. And then if you've done your Avid, you have the buyers, you've done your Avid, and it's a completed document. Your buyers are really excited about meeting the home inspector. The best way to go, and you want to be there, but best, park yourself in the family room or the kitchen table, let them do their thing. And you've already done your Avid, you've stayed within your strict standard of care. Your disclosures are going to be different than the home inspectors. And that's good. That's good because it will limit your liability. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, a little bit about building permits real quick. And I think I have like maybe 10 more minutes or so. I'll be done. Well, sometimes when you look at a property, you can kind of guess it. Well, sometimes it's pretty evident there was an older home building permit needed. Something like this, maybe that was original, but you think, well, maybe there's a building permit issue. This one's a little more obvious that 1-bedroom apartment for rent. That's good. A wonderful view. That's a real thing though, by the way. So, and then with the ADU thing, that's a whole nother game, or part of the game that's been added to the mix. So, and it can be something, I don't, is that, what are we going to call that, somewhere in between. So anyway, if you look on the Avid first page, it says California law does not require the agent to inspect the following. There's a few different things. One of them, the first one is public records or permits. So just from that alone, we may be involved in discussions. We have to be careful about that, but we never want to go down to City Hall or even drive our client, because they don't have a car, to City Hall, drop them off, and we come back in an hour. We're part of the process of researching, even though they're doing it, we're not. Just providing transportation can be a liability issue for us. We just don't want anything to do with it. By statute, agent is, that's on the Abbott. Agent is not obligated to pull permits or inspect public records, so that's good. So twice on page 1 of the Avid, we're told that building permit verification is just outside of what we do. We don't do that, and we have to just be careful about it. A lot of agents get really involved in it, and that's not good. So some kind of like a quote here that I have that, you know, if it's okay to use that, that's fine, but make sure it's okay here. Buyers are advised to check with it's better to have local municipality than city of, because some cities are really small. I used to live in South Pasadena a long time ago, and I think back then building permits in South Pas were covered by the city of Pasadena. South Pasadena just didn't have the government structure or whatever. So it's better than just local municipality regarding building permit information. So, and local municipality is much better because, you know, it just, there are different agencies in different parts of California, even Southern California. So we have, excuse me, have to be careful about that. But local municipality always works. All right, a different, maybe I'll make this my last thing of the seminar, and then I can always, you know, come back anytime. Are you, the seller, aware of any of the following? And one of them is neighborhood noise problems or other nuisances. Now, don't forget, as we saw at the very top, the seller is filling this out. If we have the listing, we're not selling it. I mean, we're not filling it out. We're selling it. We're not filling it out. Well, but let me back up. It's not, do these things exist? It's, do the sellers perceive them, like in this case, to be a noise problem? It may be noisy as heck, but if the family has a rock and roll band and they're used to it, it's not noisy to them. It's a very subjective thing, but the subjective view is coming from, not from you and I or any public official, is coming from the sellers. Do they think it's a problem? And that makes it a little bit different than if it was maybe more defined more strictly. Neighborhood noise problems or other nuisances. So let's say a house that's near the subject property is next to, and they share the house in between. There's a chronically barking, what do we have here, German Shepherd. That's out 24 hours a day. It's always barking. We would think that that neighbor would have, you know, or the seller would know about it because they've been living there, and they would disclose that, and there are some parameters in which they would. But is asking the seller if it's a problem to them, not would it bother most people. And something like this, a dog that never stops barking, could bother a lot of people. I remember being in court once where it was actually a German Shepherd, elderly seller, and they said, and they were like sobbing up there. We used to have a German Shepherd. We don't have one anymore. They have one next door. It's out day and night. We love at 3 a.m. or any time hearing it bark. It reminds us of our pet, and they're sobbing up there. For them, assuming they were telling the truth, I think they were, it's not a nuisance. They have no obligation to disclose it. Most people would be bothered by it, but it's an individual thing. So a seller can on the neighborhood nuisance, it could be something that would bother just about everybody, but all they have to do is say, you know, it doesn't bother us at all. Even if they filled it out wrong, they can always say, or their attorney will tell them to say that. So anyway, that dog is driving us crazy. The next door neighbors could say, or they could say, we love hearing it. The dog reminds us of our pet from many years ago. And the seller, whoever is making that disclosure. So do not depend on your seller's perception of nuisance. If you think it's a nuisance, and you may not know about the nighttime thing because you're not there at night, and then you would have really no obligation if it doesn't bark during the day. Just using that one example. If you think it's a nuisance, either to you or to most people, regardless of what, if you have the listing, regardless of what your seller has said, or if you don't have the listing, whatever the seller has said or not said, if you think it's a nuisance, you gotta disclose it. You don't depend on anybody else. So that's rough draft. And, oh, wait, am I going the right way? All right, okay, back here, sorry. I think I know how to work this. Okay, we did that. Am I going backwards again?
It's the middle button.
I think I am. Okay, let me keep going here. We did that. But the other one okay, well, so I'll finish that pack rat room. I'll do that. I mean, the right order. You open the door, you're doing your visual inspection. The first thing you probably think of, and it could be worse than this, but is like, I don't want to be responsible once all the stuff is taken out as to what this room looks like. And eventually the carpet's going to be pulled up and everything's going to be moved out. And maybe that kind of looks, we wouldn't call it mold, we'd call it discoloration or something like that, because mold's outside of our standard of care. But it may look like that. It may have to be kind of all taken apart or whatever. But we can't see it. It's not fair to us to be responsible for it. So, I'm sure you all know this, but something like extensive personal belongings preventative visual inspection. And I'll skip that for now, and I'm gonna wrap it up. And oh, by the way, don't forget the home's exterior. Like, you really can't see the side of the house here. You'd want to make a similar comment, and maybe it looks like that. And that's not necessarily a problem for stucco in Southern California, but you still want to make, extensive vegetation, debris, preventative visual inspection portions of the house exterior. If it looks like this, just forget about it, leave, have nothing to do with the deal. And that is a real picture, by the way. Some cleanup needed in front yard or something like that. Just give up on that one. But so anyway, I'll stop there because of not wanting to go over time. But if you ever have any disclosure questions, feel free to call me, or it's better to email me so I can copy in your management so they know what I'm talking about. And if you want me back in 3 months or something, just invite me. I've got like our elite guy back here, an endless amount of information. So any questions at all?
Any questions at all?
Even if you do your visual inspection before your home inspection, and we normally don't get all the paperwork signed together. So you fill out your avid, and then later the next day the home inspection
Right.
comes out. Or like you come here half an hour before the home inspection.
And do you attend the home inspection?
Yeah, I'm
Okay, you're
attending
there.
the home
Okay,
inspection
okay.
with my buyer. And they kind of summarize it at the end. So even though I'm not walking around everywhere,
Right.
but they still do the summary, and I'm kind of attending to the summary. Does my avid change once, even though I'm
It really shouldn't, like if the home inspector who does things that we don't goes up in the attic and finds something, you don't go in the attic, so you'd have no or in the electrical panel, you'd have no disclosure outside of your standard of care. So the only time you'd change is when you realize the home inspector found something that I just skipped over and I should have seen, and it's right there in front of me.
Yeah.
And then you can make an additional, an amendment or something like that. But they're in the attic, we're not. They're in the electrical panel, we're not. It's far more technical than we are supposed to be. Yeah, so
There's items in which you do the avid, repairs take place later. Once again,
Yeah.
we're not going to amend the avid
No.
because we saw those deficiencies
right.
before the repairs took place.
Right, and the date on the avid is on that date, April 16th, whatever, is the date that condition was present. And if they fixed it, we don't really know if it was fixed. We just know somebody did something to it and it may not work. When we were there, it was either blocked from our view or there's some condition or whatever that would limit our liability.
I have a question. So
Yeah.
do we need on AVID, do we need to do check your AC is working or not?
To do what now?
Turn on AC to check the AC is working or not?
Mechanical aspect
Yeah,
of it.
yeah. I will say there are different, I cover the whole, I live down here, but I cover the whole state. They do things differently in Northern California than here, but generally speaking, in Southern California, no. Do you?
Correct.
Yeah,
We
just
don't
don't do
want to
it.
be testing the mechanicals.
No.
We don't want to test the light switches, the faucets. That's not in our standard of care.
It's just a visual inspection, right?
Yeah, visual inspection only.
Exactly.
Don't even have these things where you can plug into an outlet to see if it's grounded. Just don't have any equipment of any kind. your guys have that, right?
We do, we do.
Yeah.
And, you know, their duty of care is a certain size.
Right.
When it's outside of that, leave it to us. When it's outside our scope, we kick it to contractors. You see that language in inspection reports all the time. Please see so-and-so for further evaluation. That means you need a licensed professional to comment further and possibly repair. So we have to stay in our lane too. We're all protecting our own, right?
Yeah.
That's really what it's about.
And again, if you want more information, just invite me back.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you. That's it.
Hey, has everybody turned their card in?
Mine
Rick's still here if anyone has any questions for him, by the way.
I'm a lingerer.
Mold is it always, sounds like mold, right?
Oh, boy.